To say that Sometimes You has a crummy track record is a bit of an understatement. This is the company that brought you such duds as Save the Ninja Clan, Deep Ones, Grab the Bottle, and North, which is in the running for being the worst game I've played this year. As a publisher, they seem willing to extend the arm to young developers looking to get their games on home consoles, but so far the results have been decidedly mixed. When I booted up their newest game, Sigi, A Fart for Melusina, I was initially impressed. It had a cool throwback look, fun platforming action, and solid control. Could this be the first game by Sometimes You that I can recommend? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is a resounding no. This is the story of Sigi, a flatulent knight who was won over by the sweet sounds of a mermaid singing. But this fairy tale wasn't meant to be, because poor old Sigi let out a fart and sent the topless woman scurrying back into the water. He chases after her, only to discover that he'll need to fight through animals, insects, and monsters in order to save her from the evils lurking in the darkness. It's just enough of a story to send our hero through 20 way too easy stages full of platforming goodness. Like I said at the top, all this initially worked on me. The game is set up as something of a Ghouls and Ghosts ripoff, which is a series I have a real soft spot for. Couple that with the clean 8-bit graphics and solid gameplay, and I was ready to give this big thumbs up. But then I played more than 2 stages, and the whole thing fell apart. Let me explain. Sigi is split up into 20 different stages, though you wouldn't know it based on looking. There are really only a couple of backgrounds to the game, so the different layouts all start to blur together after a while. At first I thought that this was just a temporary thing, and we'd eventually see more variety in the backgrounds, but no. And while both of these backgrounds look fine, they illustrate the bigger problem that everything feels rushed and shallow. You see these issues pop up in a number of different ways, especially when it comes to the game's difficulty. While most throwback titles err on the side of being punishingly difficult, Sigi goes in the complete opposite direction. This game is a pushover from beginning to end. There were a couple of stages with moving platforms that proved to be tricky, but most of the levels can be completed without even coming close to losing a life. I was surprised by how short all these levels were, that you could easily beat this game in well under an hour. The other problem is the subtitle. Look, I don't care if you call the game A Fart for Melusina, that's not what matters. But if you're gonna stick with that subtitle, then you should at least make the flatulence part of the action. But that's not what happens here. This isn't like Boogerman, where all the snot-flinging action actually plays into the mechanics, but rather it's just this thing that sets the story in motion. The subtitle is a little misleading, and I can imagine some gamers being bummed that there isn't a dedicated fart button. Visually, Sigi looks fine. I like the character design, and the 8-bit graphics are nice and clean. What I don't like is all the shaky cam nonsense. You get the feeling that everything's exploding all the time, which I found to be more annoying than exciting. I also think the bosses are a letdown compared to the rest of the design. There are a couple of good ones, but most feel completely generic and not connected to the story the developers are trying to tell. Not that you come to Sigi for a deep and involving story, but a little more care would have gone a long way. Even at the rock-bottom budget price, Sigi, A Fart for Melusina is a disappointing platformer. It's not only short and way too easy, but lacks any kind of variety or intrigue. The bosses are lame, there aren't enough backgrounds, and everything is constantly shaking. Worst of all, our hero rarely farts, leading me to believe that there's some false advertising in the title. If you're looking for gross-out fun, then you should probably just stick with Boogerman. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post reviews of new and original games almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. Does a publisher impact your buying decision? I guess that seems obvious, since we all have a soft spot for companies like Nintendo and Capcom and Sega. But what I'm wondering is how far you take that. Could it get to the point where you simply refuse to buy a game from a certain company? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on a bunch of reviews, but I spent so much time explaining that question of the day that I can't talk about them now. What I recommend you do is click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.